Thank you, Chief.
This coin was designed by Lieutenant Bayless and CSO Baum for the anniversary. The coin on one side has our badge with the remembrance band on it. And my last words to Jonah. Also, it indicates the end of his watch, which was August 7th, 2023. On the back side is our flag. And a photo that hasn't been released. The photo that you see on the coin is Jonah's police ID photo. So on behalf of the grateful department, to the city and the council, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, Chief. Chief Chick from Consolidated Fire District Number 2.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me again. Tonight, I want to cover a couple things with you quickly. It seems like you have a lot of things to address, so I want to try and be judicious with the time. But to begin with, your quarterly report, which we deliver to all of our cities now. Just quick overviews. I'm sure you guys have seen the second quarter report from our department. Some of the positives that we're seeing is that our turnout times continue to improve, which we're really proud of. That's the time it takes to get out the door when we're notified that there's an emergency. And so you'll notice in the response time breakdown at the bottom that in 2023, that was somewhere between 1 minute and 3 seconds and 1 minute and 10 seconds. Both of those times for all calls and for the emergent EMS is under a minute now. And so we're pretty pleased with what we're seeing there. What's a little bit interesting to us is that our response times have been continuing to get a little bit better, even though we've had some pretty heavy road construction in the area. So that's certainly pleasing to us to see that. Pretty marked increase in total calls in the quarter. We're seeing that throughout the year. We've got call volume starting to move up, and substantial amount of those are in EMS calls for service for medical emergencies. So outside of that, everything else seems to fall quite in line with historical data. So any questions on that quarterly report that I can answer for y'all?
Questions for the chief? Lee?
Hey, Chief, thanks for being here, and thanks again for allowing me to sit in on a board meeting a couple
Yeah,
weeks ago. It was
absolutely.
great
Thanks
to
for
meet the
coming.
team and get the nickel tour. Two quick questions. I noticed that the EMS calls are up almost 100% in the quarter, and I wondered if you had any comment on the increased quantity or the nature or both of those, and why that might be, and how is the expansion program going?
No, two great questions. So thank you for those. And thank you for coming to our council meeting or our board meeting. We appreciated having you there, and we're happy to show you around the station. So first of all, no real good explanation for why we're seeing a marked increase in EMS calls. But if you look back to the quarter one report and the quarter two report, both of them have seen increases. What I would say is probably related to some of the other call volume increases we've seen, and that is lift assists and things like that. And what we're seeing district wide is that people are remaining in their home a lot longer than maybe previously, and some of those people remaining in their homes beyond what their personal abilities are. And so I think we're seeing some of that. That's the largest investment somebody makes in their life is probably their home, and it's awful hard for people to think about giving that up. So we're happy to serve them. We're happy to be there to take care of them, but we're just seeing a little bit of an increase right now. So, yeah. And then on the second question, 63rd and Mission Road Station, we were through the programming phase of identifying the priorities that we needed to accomplish in the renovations in that station. And we're in the final design and mechanical drawings phase right now. We're hoping to obtain permits by the end of the year, by the holidays, hopefully, and then get started first of the year. That'll probably be about a year-long process to do the renovations on that station. And we're quite pleased with several things. First of all, we've come up with a plan with the builder on how we can leave that station open and functioning during the rebuild, which is important to this community and a couple of others. And then the second part of that is we're really pleased with what we've come up with for a plan for how we're going to be able to do that. And I'm going to talk to you about that in the next piece of my report here. So thank you for the questions. I have to present to the county commission later this month. We've already done our initial budget approval with the Consolidated Fire District number 2 board. And we've published our budgets for the year. One thing I'd like to remind you, if you've seen those publishings on our website and in the legal record, is that by virtue of the fact that we've put money away in reserves and we have money for a rainy day for emergencies or government interruption or anything like that, we have to book that we're going to spend all of our reserves and everything, or we don't have the opportunity to spend any money outside of our budget. And so when you see that the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget is like, on paper, it's like $21 million, but that's every dime that the district has in all of our reserves. And that's not really what we're going to spend. And so what we've discussed is that over the last number of years, I've reported to you several things. First of all, that we are and continue to be fiscally responsible. This year, I would tell you that we received the highest possible rating again awarded for our audit. We're quite proud of that. We in 2023 began to look at our reserves a little bit differently and try and take advantage of some of the rates that were going up. As you all well know, being a city yourselves, there are some heavy limitations on what you can do with those investments and how those investments can be made. But I'm pleased to report that for the last half of 2023, we put about $225,000 additional money unbudgeted on the bottom line in interest income from our reserve funds. That's good for the taxpayer, right? And so their money is making money, which helps us. And then for this year, it looks like if everything continues to hold fairly steady, we're going to put about $750,000 on the bottom line in interest income. And so exciting part about that is we're able to move forward and do a lot of the things that we need to do without passing all those costs to the taxpayer, and that's pretty pleasing for us. So our employee turnover rate remains extremely low. Our annualized turnover rate is 1.38%, which is unheard of in fire, EMS, and police, and it's crazy. I think part of that is that people really enjoy working at the district. The other part of that is we just have a very healthy family style culture, and people really are gravitating to that. So it's been a good culture, and it continues to serve us well. So our training hours over the last year exceed 12,000 hours of training to make sure that we're prepared to serve you as the public. And over 1,350 of those hours were with partner organizations in fire, police, and EMS from outside to make sure that when we collaborate on a big event, we can serve you to the best of our abilities. We remain an ISO Class 1. We're only one of 411 out of 50,000 fire organizations graded in North America. So that's a pretty elite group. What that means to the homeowners in Fairway is that you enjoy the lowest possible insurance costs for both business and residential purposes. And so we like to remind you that we're continually working to make sure that you're served to the best of our ability. Our advanced life support first response program is now mature in less than the 5-year period that we had set out to do it. And we deliver a consistent ALS response to the doorstep of our residents on average in about 4 minutes and 39 seconds from the time we're notified that we're needed. So we're really proud of that. As we were talking about earlier, we are finishing up the design process for Station 22 at 63rd Mission Road. One thing I'd like to point out about that project is that we've been planning for this for a number of years. We have been putting money away, and some of that interest income that I reported to you was able to be reallocated into our capital reserve. And so we will be paying cash for that instead of putting any bonds out or incurring any future debt for our residents. we're going to be able to pay for those renovations in reserve dollars that have already been planned for this. So we're really pleased with that and proud to be able to do that for the people who we serve. And then following that would be beginning to look at renovations for Station 21. It's a 50-year-old building in Mission, and it's going to need some work, specifically a lot of infrastructure type stuff like sewage plumbing and freshwater plumbing. A lot of those things are cast iron and old and need to be updated. So that'll be coming in 2026, 2027 as a beginning date. So I just wanted to share that with you. We pioneered a firefighter intern program to just address the challenges of limited number of qualified candidates coming into public service. And now I'd like to report that we have had very, very successful results. We now have 3 people that we have hired and have become long-term employees for the district who were really just getting into the concept of wanting to be firefighters. We help them with what came alongside and help them get their education. And then they prove themselves as worthy recipients of a full-time offer. And all 3 of those people are working full-time for the district now. So as with any good program, the bad side of that is that all of my peers have figured out what I'm doing, and so they're copying us. So, and then the last thing I'd like to talk to you about is our budget. You'll notice that we published a steady mill levy from last year to this year. That's coming on the heels of 5 years of reduction and 1.743 mills over the last 5 years. That mill levy, which we've proposed as a 10.007 mill, equal to last year. And I'd like to point out that it's lower than any year since 2011. And so we're pretty pleased with that. What I would like to address is that I also understand that the mill levy going down still means that we collected additional tax. But I would like to give you some good news about that as well. And that is over the last 6 years, Northeast Johnson County and specifically in the fire district, we've seen an increase of 43.23% increase in property value. The district has only realized 21.9% increase in revenues out of that property value, meaning that more than half of the property value increase has been given back to the homeowner, and we did that respectfully. So our 6-year history, data from the county appraiser's office shows that CFD2 has lowered our mill and our ad valorem taxes proportionally more than any other taxing subdivision in Commission District 1. So very pleased to report that to you. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Well, Chief, thank you for taking care of our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
That is outstanding news. You should be very, very proud.
I am.
of
I have a
that.
great team.
Yes, you do. Jenna, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Chick. I just wanted to say thank you. In Ward 4, we had a power line that was hot and it knocked down a tree, and your team was there so fast and did such a great job securing the area. So thank you guys for all you're doing.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Admin and Finance, Nathan?
Mayor, in the administration report, I will just point out that I did execute 2 agreements for the city in the month of July. One was for the traffic study that we were conducting at the intersection of, well, I should say around the Catherine Line Flora Park intersection is currently under study, and we hope to have the results back from that study in a few months. And the other was the agreement with Federico and Durst for the 2025 and 2026 legislative sessions. The Administration and Finance Committee did not meet in July. So for the finance report, I will just highlight that we did receive disbursement from sales tax from the state of Kansas. That was the correction to the error they made last month. So if you notice the sales tax collections, it was very higher than what I would have anticipated as a correction for July. It was about $277,000. So that correction has occurred, and we should be back on track with going forward on that. The only other thing I will point out is that we do have our draft budget for 2025. The public hearing and the council's consideration of the 2025 budget will occur next month at the city council meeting on September 9th, right here at 6:30.
All right, any questions for Nathan? Okay, thank you. Oh, Jenna, excuse me. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Nathan, I was looking at the code violation report and I noticed this month, there's a ton of solid waste storage violations. A lot of those are in Ward 4. And I'm just curious if that's what we're seeing is people not bringing in their trash cans behind the side of the house, and if that's kind of the newer restrictions that we put on. If you could speak to the specifics there, and if this is kind of a pattern, and maybe if you think folks aren't understanding perhaps the ordinance that we recently passed. Thank you.
I don't know that I would say that it's necessarily a trend. I think this is something that our code enforcement officer was specifically looking for on some drive arounds through the city. And so she addressed everything that she saw at the time. I think, moving forward, we will continue the education piece of those changes that were made last year. But at this point, most of these violations are just going to be what you're seeing here is just the initial violation letter, giving them the opportunity to get it corrected before the city would take any further action.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Police Chief?
Thank you. Last year, we did not provide a report in July, so I did provide the numbers from 22. Our numbers remain consistent. Things that you'll would have noted in the report is the number of pursuits that we've been involved in and with outside agencies. I believe I mentioned at the last meeting, we assisted Prairie Village with a pursuit that ended off of Johnson Drive. As the individual exited the vehicle, he threw a gun. We took that individual into custody, and then the passenger ran. And then she was later taken into custody. She actually jumped into a trash can and did her best Oscar the Grouch impersonation, but we did find her. We took more guns off the street as well in reference to some car stops with individuals that shouldn't have them. And again, our numbers just remain consistent. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the chief?
Mayor, I don't really have a question.
Yeah,
Just,
David?
I know we have our comments later, but thank you for this. And it's been a tough year for you all. And
It has.
it was heartwarming, bittersweet, but heartwarming to drive around Fairway, see a lot of blue lights this last week.
We're very appreciative.
Hang in
and grateful.
there.
Thank you.
Okay, Public Works, we will let Bill's report stand as submitted. If you have questions for him, council, please reach out to him directly. Parks and Rec, Bryce?
Thanks, Mayor. We had our second event over the Friday of last week. And Mayor, thank you for being the MC for half of that with trivia. That was a great time. The weather turned out great. Not so much good pool weather, but it was good event weather for being outside. We do have 2 more left. So on Saturday, September 21st, we'll have the outdoor movie. We're going to be playing Little Giants, that classic from my childhood. And then on Saturday, October 12th, we'll have our outdoor concert at Peterson Park. So we have 2 more events for you guys to attend. We've had 4, we'll have 4 total for the 75th anniversary. Otherwise, tomorrow we go to reduced pool hours since we lose all of our staff to the Shawnee Mission School District, basically. And then we'll only be open on weekends through Labor Day. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Bryce? Lee?
Comment and a question. So one, Bryce, I want to thank you and Jenna for putting these flyers together regarding the 75th anniversary and some of the upcoming programming. Not all of our residents receive information the same way. So I think the more different ways we can get the word out, the better. And these are available, and our idea is to pass them out in our wards, and I would encourage everybody else to do the same. And our last event on October 12th will, I think, be the biggie. And so hopefully we'll be able to get the word out to everybody to attend that and enjoy the band and the history and really end the 75th with a bang. My question is, how did the Books and Babies program go? And what is the Books and Babies program?
Yeah, so that's Renee's brainchild. we're trying to figure out ways that we can, while the pool is, we lose all of our staff to the school. But we still have some time. The pool is still functional. We still have the chemicals going through it. And we want to try to capture some of that, I guess, downtime that we're maybe seeing. Well, Renee would like to do a books and babies in the zero depth area where the parent and the child can come and they'll read a book to the kiddo and they'll be able to swim along with them at the same time. So kind of a unique thing that we don't have to have the full staff and the full gamut of staff that we normally have. But we will be able to have people into the facility and enjoy the pool. So we haven't had our dates yet, so those are coming up. But we'll see how those go. There's smaller openings every day. So
Else. Thanks, Bryce. All right, the monthly reports of special committees, tree board, Nathan? is
no
there anything?
report.
No report, okay. The next section is public comment for consent agenda items only. I will read those into the record. They are A, approve minutes of the previous regular city council meeting. B, approve claims and appropriations, ordinance number 1810 for July 2024. Approve letter of understanding for 2025 minor home repair program. Consider letter of understanding with Envision Lawn and Tree. Is there anyone in the public that would like to consent or to comment on any of those items on the consent agenda? Seeing no one in the audience, Nathan, I assume no one online? Nope, no raised hands. Okay. Council, these items are determined to be routine enough to be acted on in a single motion. However, this does not preclude discussion. If a council member requests an item, it may be removed from the consent agenda for further consideration and a separate motion. Does anyone wish to remove an item?
Mayor, if I
Alright.
can just make a correction, item D should be approved, letter of understanding, not consider.
Oh, not
since it is a
consider,
consent
approve?
agenda item.
Okay. I'll note that change, approve for the leaf collection. Okay, is there a motion concerning the consent agenda? David,
Mayor, I move that we approve items A through D inclusive of the consent agenda.
been moved and seconded that we approve items A through D on the consent agenda. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to new business. We've probably changed this since some of you have been here for our council meeting. But public comment now is taken after each agenda item. So we will do that this evening. I will open the meeting for a period of public comment at the completion of any presentation and or governing body discussion regarding a specific agenda item. Public comment should be limited to the current agenda item before the governing body at that time. Additional public comment on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of the meeting. Public comment will be limited to 4 minutes per speaker. And speakers are permitted one opportunity per public comment period for a 1-minute follow-up opportunity if they so wish. Item A, consider resolution number 2024C, a resolution of the city of Fairway, Kansas, establishing a 5-year funding commitment to support a Johnson County homeless services shelter managed by Restart, with United Community Services acting as fiscal agent. All right, I will open that for discussion, comment, or questions from the council. Lee?
I was just wondering if Mayor, if you or Nathan could just tell us what the amount of the funding request is and how that works and the time period so that everybody understands.
Okay, that's in your packet.
Okay?
So if you'll, Nathan, can you show that on the screen?
Sure.
If you'll go to the new business section. You will find it. Looks like this.
I have it. I just,
Okay.
so the ask is for 3160 for year one and a total 5-year ask from the city for the program, right?
That's correct.
And
Okay.
as I
David?
mentioned in the agenda memo, I just assumed a flat population change the next 5 years. It'll be based on the current Census Bureau estimates for each year. So you can see there what the ask is for the next, for the first 5 years.
Mayor,
Yeah, Tanya?
I just wanted to comment. I appreciated the presentation that we had earlier. It was a thoughtful presentation, familiar with Restart and United Community Services and their commitment to this. Appreciated the attribute of blended funding for sustainability and that this would be a community collective impact. And I appreciate the methodology with which municipalities or cities were asked to contribute, and appreciate the memo with the clear 5-year plan. So it's appealing, and I just wanted to express my appreciation for the thorough presentation we received in the work session earlier. It's very appealing. Thank you.
Anyone else? David?
Yeah, yes, and I did appreciate the presentation as well. And you look at, you say, gosh, that is a drop in the bucket. It's also a drop in the bucket for the county budget of 1.8 billion for the county to fund. And I had quite a few residents talk to me, not opposing the project, some did, but opposing the idea of paying twice. We are supporting this project because we pay taxes to the county. And if, as a city, we also support it, we are paying twice through our city taxes. Again, it's a drop in the bucket, but I guess from a policy perspective, I think there are a lot of other ways that we can show our support. We adopt resolutions all the time, acknowledging groups, supporting things. I think this is a perfect opportunity for that, where we would adopt a resolution supporting the project and then letting the county fund what is a county project. They can use our resolution to leverage private donations. And if any of our residents feel so strongly about it that they want to contribute twice, they can through a private donation, which Restart will be looking for. They will gladly accept additional donations. So I'm in support of the project itself. I just think the funding mechanism is not necessary at this time. But if we're going to get into shared funding like this between counties and cities, I would be more than thrilled to see the county commit to funding the Shawnee Indian Mission to help take some of that burden off of our backs. So that's my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Okay. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Tana and Dave, for your comments. I think that the program is extremely well thought out, and of course, there's history behind the organization, so it's not a Johnny come lately. I only have one regret, and that's there's not enough of these. And my only other regret is that we're attacking the symptoms, not the cause, and which is a subject of maybe a bigger universe than we can handle. So I put my 2 cents for the program as well.
Jerry?
Thanks, Mayor. I fully support the program, and I really understand David's concern because I had the same concern that the county should fund this and has the ability to fund it. But I think the program is so needed in Johnson County. If we just go by the people that show up at Old Mission Church for support, and I know those numbers they presented in the document are undercounted in Johnson County. So I feel what David's saying about paying twice, but I don't mind paying twice because it's right now we're shipping our homeless problems to other counties today. And Johnson County really needs to step up to support this problem and help us to find a solution. So I'm all for it. And as far as the vote, I think I'll abstain because I'm such a Stephanie fan. I think she's a great lady. And I think Restart would be a great program to run this thing. So it has my full support, but I will abstain from voting.
All right, anyone else?
Budgeted. Kelly Busick, Ward 1. I too, echo Tanya's assessment of the presentation. I think it's extremely important that we all work together within Johnson County to help support people who are down on their luck and are trying to get back on their feet and be responsible citizens for the state of Kansas. And I think, granted, yes, and I have complained about taxes that we do pay, but I also feel, and to reiterate what David said, it is a drop in the bucket, and it's a small drop in the bucket comparatively speaking. So I'm for the city of Fairway to support this initiative for the county and for the homelessness shelter. Thank you.
Nathan, it says I have one additional raised hand. Is there someone else online? Oh, okay, but there now it shows up. It didn't show up on my screen, Jenna. I apologize. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I think the presentation was really helpful that we got before this meeting. I think that Restart, looking into them, they're a reputable organization. I think I'm particularly excited about the transitional housing aspect of it too, because we're kind of doing something long-term to help people. And I also appreciated Stephanie's comments about kind of how easy it is to slip into homelessness and the ways in which that happens that maybe we don't expect. So I am supportive of supporting this program. Thank you.
Okay. Is that it? Oh, Lee?
Yeah, I just want to say, I know this is sort of blown in at the last minute for our participation in that, and so we haven't had a chance to get a lot of feedback, but I do commend Chairman Kelly and all the work that went into this over the last several years. I do think this has been well thought through. I think it's a program that the community needs. And I recognize that I don't look at it as just a Johnson County issue, but it's also a local community issue. And I think it's a positive that Fairway would be a direct part of the program going forward. So I am in favor of the program and our participation in it.
Okay. I'll open the floor for public comment on resolution number 2024C. Is there anyone who would like to comment? If you'll please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. I think the mic's probably still on. Okay.
Can you hear me
No,
now?
that's better.
Okay, good. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Pat. I live at 6524 Overbrook,
Your last name, please.
Hotsey,
Okay.
and I actually attend church here in Fairway. I'm here tonight as a representative of the Good Faith Network, a Johnson County interfaith group composed of nearly 30 congregations across 3 faith traditions that advocates for proven solutions to our community's most pressing problems. I speak tonight representing the more than 1,500 people who gathered in person to stand shoulder to shoulder in support of ending homelessness and creating affordable housing at our May 7th Assembly. This fall, hundreds more will gather again for the Good Faith Network's small group listening sessions held across the county and here in Fairway to hear about our community's hope for and commitment to ending homelessness. Tonight, you heard about your opportunity to make a financial investment in a center that will be permanently and centrally located, open year-round, professionally staffed, offering physical security and stability to a group of residents who are too often overlooked. This center has been a long time coming and has become undeniably necessary as our community's point-in-time count continues to rise each year. The latest data shows us that on any given night, there are 250 people homeless in this county. And that means tonight also. And this is happening in the largest, wealthiest county in Kansas. I know there is a small number of highly vocal opponents of the Homeless Services Center. I'm sure many of you have received calls, emails, and comments from fellow residents, either against Fairway contributing to funding it, or perhaps even its very existence. I and many others I've met through this work chose to be involved with the Good Faith Network to be a counter narrative to NIMBYism, which exists here in Johnson County. That's the not in my backyard narrative. It often rears its ugly head when we talk about homelessness. As an organization able to mobilize hundreds every year for issues such as ending homelessness and creating affordable housing, please know that we represent a bigger, a more unified voice, a voice that boldly declares that anyone, with or without a home, is still our neighbor who we are called to love. We look forward to seeing that dream become a reality, where the promise of Johnson County isn't the privilege of a few, but is instead a gift to all of us. The Good Faith Network urges you to vote in support of contributing to the Homeless Services Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Anyone else? Yes. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Maria Holiday,
And your address?
7647 Hemlock. I was requested to come and speak before this group because I've been following this Lenexa homeless shelter for some time now. And I want to start by saying that I'm in no way opposed to helping the homeless. However, government is generally the least effective way to help people. I noticed that somebody said, I believe it was Councilmember Buzek, that of course we want to help people in Johnson County who are down on their luck, and I concur. However, we have no way of knowing that the people we will be helping are actually from Johnson County or from Kansas for that matter. But there are some things when we talked about, I heard several council members say that they thought it was a well thought out plan. And I heard affordable housing come up. But I would like you to consider how this does affect affordable housing. I'm a realtor, and as these types of projects come down and we're taxed for them, and that turns up on our property taxes, it becomes less affordable housing for many people. Right now in the United States, it takes about $109,000 of average annual income in order to be able to afford to purchase a home. That's an incredible increase over even just 5 years ago. Those numbers that you're looking at for the next 5 years are a best guess at this point in time. We know the numbers have changed twice just in the last couple of weeks. Maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks, but they've already gone up. And we know that just with the renovation, they're likely to go up again, which means your cost is going to go up again. This will be a well that they will come back to over and over. It's a little bit like being bamboozled. I know that we have a lot of good organizations in this area, including the Good Faith Network that does a lot of good work. The Jewish Family Services, Salvation Army, Hillcrest Traditional Housing, Project 1020. There's a lot of good organizations in Johnson County. United Community Services gets a good deal of money from Johnson County. And each year they ask for a little bit more. But they don't have to show any accountability. I've asked actually for matrix and for numbers to show that what they're doing is working, and they don't have those numbers. The RFP that went out didn't even go to City Union Mission. They only got 4 RFPs returned, and there was no nationwide search. There's also the question of whether Lenexa will even approve this, and if all of the information is going to satisfy HUD. And if you look on the website that's on that lenexashelter.com, it has all of the reports that have come out. But we all understand that once HUD gets involved and there's HUD money, that we've lost all control, because now it becomes a federal project. And I don't know what that means for Fairway when they come back next year. And it had to be something else because it didn't meet their guidelines.
Your time is almost up.
I would ask that you take a look at lenexashelter.com and that you look at the history of this developer and these other shelters in other areas to see how that has turned out and if that's what you want for our area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Nathan, is there anyone online?
If there is anyone online who'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature now.
Nope. Okay, we'll close public comment on this item. Council, any additional discussion? All right, I would ask for a motion concerning resolution 2024C.
Mayor, Joseph Levin, Ward 3, I propose that we pass resolution 2024C, a resolution of the city of Fairway, Kansas, establishing a 5-year funding commitment to support a Johnson County Homeless Secure Service Center managed by Restart, with United Community Services acting as fiscal agent.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we pass the resolution 2024C. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
No?
For the record, Councilman Williams abstains from voting.
All right, that is 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. Sorry. The resolution 2024C passes.
Mayor, just confirming that would be 5 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention, because we do have 1 council member absent.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Okay, item B. Under new business, consider ordinance number 1811, special use permit for 6 large utility structures at 4210 Shawnee Mission Parkway. Nathan, is that you?
It can be.
I think it will be.
Okay. This is an item that has been through Planning Commission that is related to the 4210 Shawnee Mission Parkway project. This is just the next step in that development, and it is, the Planning Commission is recommending approval. You can see the site plan at the back of the SUP application, or I'm sorry, the SUP. This is for the electric structures that will support the complex. And again, Planning Commission is recommending approval. So I do have Community Development Director Basil is available via Zoom if there are any questions that I can't answer.
Okay, any questions concerning this item, council? Yeah, Lee?
So, and maybe you can't answer this, Nathan, but just before I vote yes on this, were these structures contemplated in the original plan? Is this a substantial change to what was already contemplated, or is it something that is going to fit right in and we shouldn't worry about it?
We knew that this was going to come back as far as the SUP, just because of the size of the infrastructure. If it were smaller things that, the staff does have authority to approve some smaller infrastructure boxes that get located throughout the city, but it's a very small threshold before it has to go to planning commission and council. So there will be adequate screening in terms of landscaping around this as they are installed and the development project is finalized. It may take a while for all of the screening to grow and to completely screen the infrastructure, but there will be landscaping to help soften it.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Any discussion? Okay. Jenna and Jerry. Nope, no hands raised. Okay, we will open this item for public comment. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on item B, ordinance number 1811? Seeing no one, anyone online, Nathan? All right, we'll close public comment. I'll entertain a motion for this ordinance.
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 1811, which is a special use permit for 6 large utility structures at 4210 Shawnee Mission Parkway.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve ordinance number 1811. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Jerry, can you unmute yourself? Okay,
I
okay.
I was saying I here, you just couldn't hear me.
Anyone no? Passes unanimously. New business item C, consider planning commission recommendation for approval of a new monument sign face at 4500 Shawnee Mission Parkway. Nathan?
Yes, so from time to time, KCTV5 has changed their logos and our code does require that any changes to commercial signs be approved by the planning commission and the city council. So I believe somewhere, this has been replaced in 2005, 2006, and 2021. So this is just an update to their sign face, not changing the size of the sign or any other aspects of the sign. It's literally just changing what it looks like.
Okay. Any questions concerning this request? All right, I'll open this one for public comment. Anyone wish to comment on this recommendation, approval of a new sign? Nope. No one online. All right, is there a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion. Make a motion that we approve item C in new business, the planning commission recommendation for approval of a new monument sign face at 4500 Shawnee Mission Parkway.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Planning Commission's recommendation for the new sign at 4500 Shawnee Mission Parkway. All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Okay, item 8 on the agenda, governing body comment. During this time, members of the governing body will be given the opportunity to speak about matters related to the city. No formal action will be taken during this time. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss?
Mayor, all I know is one of my young neighbors was thrilled with your MC work at the party at the park on Saturday because he won about 43 different things in your raffle.
Well, maybe I have another calling. I could go on TV and be a
But I,
game show host.
that was a,
That's
I want
what
to,
I want to do.
I should have thanked you earlier, but that was a fun event for the neighborhood. They really liked it. And the only complaint I heard about the whole thing was the weight limit that wouldn't let people like me get on all those bounce house things.
You're preaching to the choir.
Anyone else? All right. Jenna, Jerry, nope. Okay, we will close this section of the agenda on the governing body comment. Last but not least, public comment for items not listed on the agenda. Anyone wish to speak? You volunteered, okay. Please state your name and address. Yes, please.
I'm new to this.
That's okay.
Great to have your attention. I appreciate it. I'm Brian Robinson. I'm at 5301 Norwood Street. I'm here to talk about the tunnel that goes underneath Shawnee Mission Parkway at Belinder.
Mhm.
You know, I haven't gotten in front of a city, haven't gotten behind a comment before, so it's the first time I felt strongly enough to get in front of someone and you know, it's the 75th anniversary of Fairway, and part of that growth and continuation is beautification. And if you look at the railings, you guys probably don't go through the tunnel, you don't see it, or we've got.
I
some-
live in Ward 1.
Lead us to, great. Oh, fantastic. We've got 3 of you guys, but the ones that haven't seen it, go take a look. It's deteriorating, and it just bugs you. You know, you walk by it, my wife Kathy and I, and we've got 6 of our neighbors here. And other people as well are here to support this too as well. So we walk this every day, and the railings are just an eyesore, and it's, you know, it's the entrance to Fairway here, and is that what we want to present as a city? And so it's been disappointing for me to see that not taken care of. It's something is, you know, we've doubled our revenue in 10 years through the growth of the value of the homes, through the sales taxes we generate, and that tunnel generates a lot of sales taxes, and a lot of value of homes are over there. And people, I was out there on our deck one Saturday, I saw 20 people in a half hour use the tunnel. I saw a boy ride his bike from first watch back to his home with some food. You know, his parents felt, hey, it's safe for them to go underneath the tunnel. He can go get the food, bring it back. What a convenience for the parents, which is fantastic. Safety is the other thing that I want to mention. Pulling, you know, our driveway is on Shawnee Mission Parkway, and pulling out onto that street is tough. There's a curve right up here. There's landscaping that kind of prevents you from seeing really well. So just having young people cross that street at a crosswalk just doesn't make sense for us. If you've got this tunnel already built, already in place, we've got to spend some money to take care of it. But I think if you make an investment, and that's what I'm asking for, is that you make an investment. I think you'll have a great tunnel for a long period of time. You continue to see the growth, the revenue for the city of Fairway, because you've got the value of those homes continuing to go up, and they're supporting Front Range and the Hen House and First Watch. And I go to Rainy Day Books anytime I need a book, so I like to support that local. So that's my ask, is that you take care of that maintenance and see if we can't do it quickly too. Appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else like to speak? Yes.
Hello, my name is Loring Lifer, and I'm at 5640 Cherokee Circle. And my husband and I and our dog Lucy regularly use that tunnel to cross over to the Fairway shops. And commonly we will see somebody going the opposite direction, so it seems to get used. And I think that anything that the city of Fairway can do to encourage more pedestrians will have benefits way beyond just beautifying the intersection, but encouraging more people to walk will take wear and tear off of the streets and many other services that have to be provided. We'll get healthier and maybe have less need of emergency services and give parents a lot of comfort that their children can cross the street safely. And we cross regularly at the intersection of Shawnee Mission Parkway and Mission Road, and that is a perilous intersection to cross because of the fact that traffic comes over very fast, especially the northbound traffic, and you can't really see the cars coming. The lights seem to be a kind of capricious contest where sometimes you have only 12 seconds to run across the street. And then other times you you can actually leisurely walk across. There have been times we've been on bicycle where we were not able, we went immediately when the light told us we could go, and we were not able to cross that intersection. So having a safe intersection will be instrumental, I think, in getting more people to come and frequent the shops, the Fairway shops, that will help add to the coffers and pay for other necessary services. Okay, wow. That's the fastest opinion I've ever given. Just ask my husband.
Thank you, Lauren.
Paul Temmie, 5640 Cherokee Circle. So Lauren has said it very well. It's a safety issue. I think my understanding is, we're here because we understand that KDOT has decided they're not going to support this. That's what we learned. And we do want to urge you to maintain it, sustain it and maintain it. I think it's an important safety issue. It does go to the heart of our walking and bicycling in the neighborhood. It facilitates that, most particularly for children and so forth. And Lucy. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul. Whoops.
Mayor, council members, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Tim Basar. I live at 5310 Norwood with my wife. I would just like to echo some of the same comments that all of my other neighbors have made about the tunnel. Strongly believe that it ought to be maintained moving forward. In addition to all of the same comments that they've made about how we want to maintain a nice, beautiful city. We also would like to maintain our ability to walk across to the shops and use that. I know, like she was saying, every single time I walk through the tunnel, I'm seeing many other neighbors also use it as well. I know that every time I'm over at Hen House picking up groceries, which seems to be very often these days, I see all of my neighbors there as well too. And I would just like to add that if it were not for the tunnel, if I had to jump in my car and go drive to the grocery store, I'm not sure that I would be choosing the shops that are right across, as there are many other options that could go as well. And I really do enjoy being able to walk to the grocery store and pick up a book at Rainy Day Books and have a coffee or a drink, depending on the time of day, at Front Range. So I very much appreciate it and would very much appreciate your consideration of funding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I'm Jason Krakow, 5440 Belinda Road, my wife Andrea, and I have lived there for 28 years. And as I'm looking at this number, realizing that we've lived here for more than a third of the time of Fairway, which is a little shocking, but our kids worked at the Fairway pool and have great memories of the mentorship Nathan provided at that time. And I appreciate Mayor and the members of the council, the good work you do to maintain this amazing community. And walkability is part of that. Walkability to a central of sorts, town hall or community of shops is a rare thing. And it's a rare thing in Johnson County. And it's something we've cherished. It drew us to this community and it's kept us in this community. Andrea and I often have a debate as to how great or not great the Hen House is, similar to your comments, but it absolutely is great in that it is walkable and accessible. And you will also find me saying, let me run up to the grocery store. And when I say run, I might run, usually walk, but I'm always taking the tunnel. Same experience for a coffee at Front Range or a cocktail in the evening and not having to get back into our vehicle. The safety that our kids enjoyed, being able to get in and around the neighborhood because of the tunnel. It's a real gem. It is truly a hidden gem of our city, and it is well worth maintaining. And I urge your support to do that. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jason.
Good evening, Eric Smith, 5346 Belinda Road. And I'm also here just to voice my support for the maintenance of the tunnel. I think most of the things have been said that are the key issues for the residents. I mean, it's an issue of convenience, it's an issue of safety. And it just would be a great loss for the community, given that the infrastructure exists, not to continue to maintain it and invest in it in a way that can preserve it for future generations and be here hopefully when we have our 150th celebration down the road. Some of us may be here, I won't be here, but I wanted to also just emphasize that when Councilman Story was running for office, we were really pleased to see that one of the things that he was focused on in achieving for the city was the maintenance and improvement of that tunnel, and that was really important for us in supporting him. And likewise, we'd love to see a restaurant go into the old the old Houlihan space, and then we can use the tunnel even more as we get back and forth. So
I'm trying.
yeah. So safety, walkability, it's just a great and unique feature of our community that we all really enjoy. I do have notes from a couple of other neighbors who were not able to be here tonight, and I'll leave those with Lee so he can share them with the council. But Matt Bowen and his family and Lucas Meek and his family also wanted to share their support. Matt's daughter, who's entering junior high, also wrote a letter in support of the tunnel. She feels so strongly about it. So thank you again. We hope that we can continue to invest in and preserve the tunnel.
Thank you, Eric.
Hi, I'm Steve Stoskoff. I live at 5311 Norwood. We consider ourselves as North Norwood. We love this area. And really it comes down to, I lived in South Johnson County forever. I've been here 6 years, and it's come to be that the tunnel is a legacy to Fairway. And talking to Lee and going through it, and very honestly, I'm a driver. I'm scared to death to go through. I think there's Fairway Frank in that little door there. But I still go through sometimes. But it needs to be cleaned up. The rails are just awful, and whether it's $75,000, whatever, there's got to be probably a better way. I don't know what the state has and what the rules are. But as far as it is something you need to keep, we need to keep, and it is a legacy to Fairway. And so please consider what you can do with it. And so there is a safety issue. I used to run across the street for a Sunday paper, and I've been damn near killed several times, but it's stupid. And so there's so many young kids, young families, not what I'll call the oldies, but they need that tunnel. So please consider and whatever we need to do to keep that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Evening, everybody. My name is Fred Oram, and I live at 5528 Belinda and have been there since 1980. Before that, I grew up right behind Prairie School. I'll give you, I'm here to support the tunnel as well and give you a little historical perspective on the tunnel and how important the tunnel was in my life. When I was a little kid, I used to ride my bike over to the Fairway Theater where the restaurant used to be. And every Saturday, I would ride my bike over and I would see the Three Stooges or Commando Cody. And I even saw the original run of The Blob there. Now, my parents allowing me to ride my bike that far was contingent on my agreement to use the tunnel when I crossed the highway. And that was instrumental in my ability to go to the Fairway Theater. I also used it to go to Allen's Drive-In as well. So I support the tunnel. There is a reason why it was built in the first place, and traffic has only increased since then. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Good evening, Phil Herman, 5424 Belinda Road. Yeah, so I'm a resident of Fairway now for about 5 years, and similar to my good neighbors here behind me, I'm just wanted to voice my support for the tunnel as well. We've got a 6-year-old daughter, my wife and I, and she's just getting ready to start kindergarten tomorrow, and so we one of the reasons we liked the house right on the street here on Belinda was the access to that tunnel, and was one of the reasons why we bought at that location. So it was super important to us, and you know, I guess you know, we're definitely in support of anything the city can do to support its maintenance and you know, keep it up. Nowadays, I feel like every time I walk down the ramps, makes me think about when the last time I got my tetanus shot. But so I'm hoping we can clean that up and make it a little bit nicer for residents. And again, I just appreciate you listening to our voices, and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Anyone else? You know, it was fun to laugh with you this evening. I know the subject is very serious. The mayor doesn't get to vote very often, so I'm going to make a few comments. Nathan's glaring at me. I walk by that tunnel every day. I walk every morning, except when it rains. Every morning, and I hear you. I do, and I've also run across Shawnee Mission Parkway and been chastised by staff for doing that, but I have done that, and I've given up on the corner at Mission Road and Shawnee Mission Parkway. I don't go that way anymore. So thank you all for coming tonight. It's very important that we hear from you, and this is the largest crowd we have ever had. And actually, I love it. And so thank you for coming. Now, with public comment on an item not on the agenda, usually this would be it. We would adjourn, but I'm going to ask Nathan to give you a little bit of the history of what we have done in the last year. In May of 2023, we had a work session, and we included on that, we were talking about capital improvement projects, and the tunnel was on the agenda. And so Nathan, will you just bring everyone up to date so that we're all on the same page? You know what we've been working on and where we are. I think it would be helpful.
Sure. Before I do that though, Bryce, can you hold up that picture? That's of the tunnel construction. And what year is that, Bryce? (1948). So if you look on the banners behind Bryce, you'll see what year Fairway was incorporated. So the tunnel predates Fairway.
Turn it around. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So as in any good government problem, it is always nuanced and way more complicated than what you might think. So just by way of background, that tunnel was put in, starting construction there. And really at the same time, in what we can tell from the history, is that the intersection was put in the same, they signalized the intersection at the same time. And it was based on complaints of speed, especially as they were getting ready to widen the highway. They were concerned about what speed would do through what would have been essentially at the time the Fairway Homes Association. So the tunnel was built by KDOT. The railings and ramp on the south side, along with the tunnel itself, are owned by KDOT. So the tunnel itself, I'm sorry, the ramp on the south side is actually an unplatted piece of land that is owned by the state of Kansas. The tunnel is owned by the state of Kansas, and then the ramp on this side of Shawnee Mission Parkway was originally owned by J.C. Nichols. And so because all of the land from the Fairway shops up to Shawnee Mission Parkway was owned by J.C. Nichols. After Fairway became Fairway, at some point, Nichols deeded the land directly in front of the shops out to the parkway to the city. So it was at that point that the city then took ownership of the ramp on the north side of the parkway. However, at the time that that was done, the city of Fairway had a gentleman's agreement with J.C. Nichols that Nichols and company would continue to maintain the railings and tunnel on both sides. In more recent history, as the Fairway shops have changed hands, that gentleman's agreement did not transfer with the sale of the site. So the owners over the years have done things to the tunnel in terms of the maintaining the railings. The city has snuck in some things. We did replace the ramp on the south side several years ago. We also updated the electrical inside the tunnel at one point, probably a decade ago. But it is infrastructure that just the north ramp and railings are something that's the only thing that Fairway owns technically. We have had conversations with KDOT about the possibility of KDOT revamping or refurbishing the tunnel. And that conversation started with, what tunnel? So when they went through, and one of the things that they did initially in our discussions is they sent out their structural engineer, and they did verify that the tunnel is still structurally sound. It started out with a 50-year life cycle, and so we're on year 76. They think that there's maybe another 30 to 40 years worth of life left in the tunnel, structurally speaking, barring any significant changes. So really a lot of what we're looking at in terms of the tunnel today is almost all cosmetic. In terms of the crumbling on the ramps that you see, the work that would need to be done in the tunnel itself. Over the years, the city has commissioned work to have the tunnel sandblasted and repainted. There's been Boy Scout projects in the tunnel that have tried to refurbish the tunnel. But it has been a number of years since any significant amount of work was put toward the tunnel. Fast forward to last May, the city council held a workshop on all of our outstanding capital projects. This is everything from stormwater, landscaping projects around the city, street lights, mill and overlay projects, you name it, anything that would fall in our capital schedule. The realities of that conversation were that the tunnel was at that time ranked the lowest priority given the rest of the competing projects that were facing the city. We did go out and obtain bids. We only could get one company in the end that was willing to give us a bid to restore the tunnel. That would include the new railings, both on the ramps as well as the perimeter around the ramps themselves on top. That included fixing all the walls on the ramps and then going through, and it wasn't sandblasting, but it was a similar process to essentially strip the tunnel back to concrete and then try to smooth out some of the crevices that are in there, get rid of the stalagmites that are on the floor of the tunnel. And all in was about an $85,000 project. So we went to KDOT and said, okay, here's the number. How much of this are you willing to fund? And they said, well, if the tunnel needs work, we'll just close it. We have no interest in maintaining it or putting any more money in it. The KDOT's position was that because there is a signalized intersection with crosswalks right there, that they would not support spending KDOT dollars to maintain the tunnel moving forward. So that's where KDOT was. And with that understanding at the time, knowing that the city would, if we wanted to do anything substantial, the city would have to enter into a long-term maintenance agreement with KDOT where we would agree to maintain the tunnel for the life of it, for the rest of its life. And then whether or not the tunnel would be replaced or removed at the end of its life would be a conversation that would be had at a later time. But unless KDOT's position would change in order to, if the tunnel would need to be replaced, the city would be looking at needing to fully fund that project if it was a priority established by the governing body. So that is where we are at today. We have requested that same contractor provide us with an updated number to move forward with the work. I was hoping to have that by the meeting today. Unfortunately, there was some sickness in the office with the contractor, so they weren't able to get it to us today, but I do expect that we'll have revised numbers within the next week in terms of what today dollars would cost for it. In terms of budgeting process, should the governing body decide that they want to move this onto the 5-year capital improvement program, that would be if that's the will of the governing body, then we can add that to our capital improvement program moving forward. It wouldn't necessarily affect anything that we need to do in terms of approving the budget next month, because this project would be paid for out of the capital improvement fund, and that's an unbudgeted fund. So essentially what that means is we don't have to report to the state what we're going to do with it. We report to the state what we did with it the previous year. So the governing body could simply add that to the capital improvement program within the next 5 years or not. But again, it does come down to how does this project compete with other things, the mills and overlays of the roads, the purchases of new cop cars or public works facilities. So it all is going to come from one pot of money. And so the governing body would have to essentially, through the adoption of the capital improvement fund, which is a capital improvement program, which is a 5-year outlook in terms of how we budget. The council could opt to add this to any given year and rank it in priority 1, 2, 3 in terms of what it looks like in that particular year. But that is something that we can move to committee and discuss that in terms of the next Administration and Finance Committee. If the council wants to add that to the 5-year capital improvement program, which doesn't necessarily guarantee that the project would move forward, but it at least puts it on the schedule. That is something that the Administration and Finance Committee could direct me to add to that calendar at the Administration and Finance Committee meeting at the end of this month.
Done. Put it on the month-end meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Nathan.
Mhm.
Thank you all for coming. It was good to hear from you, and we are adjourned.